Alright, so we're finally going to get back to this 318, or I'm finally going to get back to this 318. You're going to watch. So what we're going to do, or what I have done so far, is it does not crank. So basically, since it's a newer model, it does have the brake switch. So if I was to climb up on the seat and mash the brake in, which currently the ignition switch is in the, here we'll just go ahead and pop the hood here. So I have already tested the ignition switch to make sure the ignition switch is not the issue. I have also tested, where'd it go? I have a jumper in the seat switch. I'll have to take the fender pan off for that. And then also I still need to inspect the brake switch. But basically when you turn the key on, everything goes through its normal cycle. We'll go ahead and push the brake in, and when you turn the key, you get nothing. Okay, so that is our problem. I do know I did as part of the inspection so far to date, I've gone ahead and I've actually tested to see if the starter works, and basically by just crossing the terminals there, the starter does spin, but it does not engage the flywheel very often. So I most likely will end up pulling this engine once I have gone through all of the tests for the electrical system, but we will do that next. What I am going to do is I'm going to go ahead and take the hood, the side panels, everything off. I'll probably go ahead and take the fender off again, just so we know that is not the problem. I can access all the electrical system and everything. Like I said, I tested the ignition switch, and how I did that is I just happened to have a new ignition switch that I could plug in here, and it's fine. And I also took the one that's in here and I tried on my 318, which is right there. So that's the ignition switch is fine, it works and everything. So what I'm going to do is take everything off, all the body panels and everything, and we will go from there. Pretty easy to take everything off. You'll need 10 millimeter. It should be a 10 millimeter. Oftentimes they're replaced for 7/16, but a 10 millimeter bolt here, 13 millimeter bolts there, and 13 millimeter bolts, 4 bolts on the back. So super easy to take everything off. In fact, not that hard at all. So we'll go ahead and work on that, or I'll go ahead and work on that and come back and kind of update you where I'm at. Alright, so I have all of the body panels off. So I have the seat off, everything else. So a couple quick comments that I want to make. What I've done is I've gone ahead and I made a jumper for the seat switch. This is not something that I would recommend leaving in. I know a lot of people do, but it's just, to me, to be perfectly honest, safety switches are there for a reason. And when you've had a family member that could have been killed because if the safety switch was not on the seat and stuff, makes a big difference. So that's all I'm going to say about that. RIO, it's a stupid reverse implement operation. That's a stupid setup right there. But seat switches and stuff like that, I would say if a machine has it, keep them intact, please. Just a safety thing there. But anyway, I've jumpered it. I have also jumpered the brake switch just to ensure that it is in fine condition. It seems to work just fine, but I've gone ahead and jumpered it. That way I can isolate all my problems to the starter. What I've done is I've set up my multimeter. Oftentimes what I do or what I've already done is there are two, let me get a flashlight real quick. So down in there are two studs. There's a lower stud where you see the red cable going to the lower one, and then you see another stud that is where that alligator clip is sitting. The lower stud is 12 volts. There's always 12 volts going to that whether the key is on or not. The upper stud is the one that basically controls when the solenoid, to tell the solenoid to engage the starter. So the power will go from the lower 12 volt cable up to the starter when you turn the key. So where I have the alligator clip on right now is for the key. Now what I've done is I have set up my multimeter. So here are the two ends to the multimeter. Because I have like a $40 multimeter, it's not an expensive unit. I don't have clamps or anything. But I take these alligator clamps. These alligator clamps, you can buy like 10 of them for like $1 at Northern Tool, something like that. I have tons of these sitting around the shop, these setups. And what I've done is I've taken and clipped on the alligator clips to the ground for the engine and also on that solenoid. That lets me check to see if I turn the key, if there is 12 volts going to that solenoid, that tells me that there's an issue with the starter. So that's what we're going to test. Now I haven't tested this yet, but we're going to sit here and that is, so it's set to DC and it's set to volts. And so we're going to turn the key on, and then we have our lights, dummy lights on the dash, and we're going to turn the key and see what happens. Just like we kind of suspected, there is no, so you can see I'm turning the key, there is no power going to the stud on the solenoid. That means there's an issue farther back up line. So I can start from the starter and work my way back through the electrical system, so probably have to take the battery out and get into the battery tray and everything and check all those. I've already tested the fuses. Also, I would like to say that the PTO works, so just listen as I flip this PTO switch. You hear that click? That click is the PTO working. Uh-oh. Let's see here. So the PTO is working. I touched my key there. So anyway, I'm going to start working backwards from the starter and see if I can figure out what might be causing our issue there. It does have this starter relay kit on it, so I'll need to thoroughly inspect all of those components and whatnot. But I just noticed that needs to be on the starter. So perhaps I need to put that on the starter to complete this test. So let me do that and we'll go from there, because this actually goes from the starter relay. I remember now I took this off when I was testing it last time I worked on it when I first got this unit. So I knew this was off, I just forgot to put it back on. So I'll put it back on there and we'll go from there. Maybe that'll fix it.